Hello and welcome back to Learn Linux TV. I'm here at the 45 Drives Creator Summit having a ton of fun. I'm here creating content with fellow creators, having discussions with really cool people. I just can't thank 45 Drives enough for having me at this event. Now, as part of this event, I sat down with Doug Milburn. He's the president and co-founder of 45 Drives, and he had a lot of interesting things to say about the company itself, as well as the theme of this event, de-Microsoftification. Yes, that's the actual theme of this year's Creator Summit. So what I'm going to do right now is play back the interview that I had with Doug. It's a lot of fun, so definitely don't miss it. All right, how you doing, Doug?
I am doing great, Jay. Thank you very much.
I'm here with Doug from 45 Drives. Let me get this right. Co-founder and president, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Good, good. Because I know, yep, that's all. I always want to get that right. But I want to hear it from your mouth. Like, what are you trying to achieve? What's the goal? What is the mission for 45 Drives?
Yeah, 45 Drives is all about open source, open platform in storage, standalone servers and clustering and enterprise level. But to, the whole thing, customers, if you're not buying from us, your number one option is legacy.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's not, there's too much of that already.
Yeah. Well, in legacy, you give them their respect. I mean, they created the industry. They've been around since the dawn of computing, and they do the job. They've tightly integrated hardware, software that works. It's got the horsepower to run enterprise, and they got the organization to back it up and make it work. But what's the problem? Expensive. The companies are bloated, and in fact, this tech pullback, you can see layoffs and having some layoffs.
I've seen that too.
Uncomfortable, and and it really the whole risk of what happens when your vendor is under financial stress, and not to say that these giants are going to go under. I wouldn't say that at all. But the corporate strategy pen comes out. And you see things like VMware or rug pull, good.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we see these types of things. Like you may not think it's going to happen with the business you do business with. It may not, but it also could, because I feel like everybody who's in this situation probably at one time said, oh, yeah, but we'll be fine, compared to other people.
Well, it's legacy. And legacy, they do the job. But you trust. You don't get to trust and verify. You just trust. And the people upstairs with the MBAs, the office tower, there's a risk there today, and people feel that risk, and they feel that I'm owned, and that puts me at risk. And so your other option is to go open source. Hey, it's all about the software. Let's just get commodity hardware, put the software on, and we'll make it happen. And we'll flex, we'll solve the problem we want, more like we dreamed of it being rather than what the vendor's product was. The legacy tends to be productized. So you got the flexibility, and you got that open source license, which is a source of security, right? If things end, as we've seen with Red Hat and CentOS, good, the carpet got yanked out. Good, branch, rocky. There's no immediate crisis because you can keep running, but it is going to go into light.
Someone decided to take it upon themselves to fix a problem that people were having and meet them where they were with the situation. We got your back. We can take care of you.
So that's the positive of that open source world. The downside is it's a project. And the word iceberg. And you see the top, anybody who's done that, great. Anybody can go to the open source community, get hardware, put it together, and get it to work. And then, but what happens if, and what happens if, and you got the gotchas. So, and in enterprise, it just doesn't happen. People don't get to do open source projects unless it's really core and strategic. It's not happening. So what's one to do? Well, wouldn't it be great if you get open source, open platform, the license security, and the flexibility, but you could have it that single PO, convenient buying, single source responsibility, and get things wrong. That's 45 Drives. That's where we put it all together, deliver it, simple working package, and that's the 45 Drives full offering.
And I know this isn't like the biggest thing, but I mean the fact, the colors. Oh my God. I've seen so many boring data centers where obviously it's not like we're crowding around the data center to, this big work of art, but I mean, things don't have to look boring either. And you guys look like you've done you've done this amazing job of just reinventing the case, reinventing, where you're putting the drives and how the cooling is going. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know my HL15 is ridiculously low in power usage. I don't know the numbers. I just remember thinking like, okay, with as many drives as I have, like I would think the drives alone would be more power than the entire case that runs my entire editing system. And it's just like, I looked at the kilowatt meter and I want to say it was under 100, but I don't want to quote that. It was low. It was low.
Yeah. Look, we take pride the engineering, the mechanical side of it, and this stuff that's, there's all this wonderful offshore made product that's adequate.
Right.
And it is adequate, and you can get the job done. You go buy your favorite Taiwanese maker and whatever, and you get credible hardware. So we take it the next level. Everything here is North American designed, North American engineered, and North American built. And we take pride in it. And we go things like drives. When you're putting a large number of drives into a chassis, putting 2 or 4 screws into a caddy and sliding caddies in, it's tedious. So we're toolless, like toolless lids, toolless, so these little touches, how it looks and feels, engineer it like a grade A automobile. But the other side of it, if you want to make stuff that just works, because we're about bringing open source and open platform hardware into the enterprise, the basics, power engineering and thermal engineering, and vibration engineering for things that have spinners in it, and take those very, very seriously. We engineer them well. We engineer them conservatively. So when they go in the server room, you can talk to anybody who has 45 drives hardware. It just works. It'll run for years and years and years. And, you get to end of life on anything. We have all kinds of people that have asked us to, do hardware upgrades, or they do them themselves. They're designed to be serviceable. So they are the real thing. And and it's a different world from the throwaway, from the Taiwanese throwaways.
Right. That's just amazing. I mean, I went from a server, and I'm not proud of this, right? But it had like 4 slots for drives, and it was a custom build, and I needed that 5th drive, but there's just nowhere to put it. And, unfortunately, it is just a little loose in the bottom of the case, and I hope that nobody jostles it too much when they pull it out. And then going to an HL15, where it's like, okay, just drop it in and just walk away.
And that machine and our team are, you've got to meet our development team, and you saw the Beernator come in, and a whole other story.
The Beernator, I think it's on. Yeah, you should be able to see this right here. I'll try to zoom in and post, but we have the Beernator. Yeah,
and it's it's a 4U rack mount enclosure on rails, Peltier cooler in it, and it's for having some cool refreshments at hand in the server room, right? I mean, that's fun stuff. But to engineer something like, they take pride in what they do, and HL15, good. We and that was an interesting one, because reaching into the home labs world, we went in and we had wonderful conversations in Reddit, which can be a scary place for vendors to be. But go in there respectfully and say, if we're going to build something for you, what do you want? And then you deliver on it as best you can. There's trade-offs when you engineer stuff. And HL15, great machine.
It really is. So you guys are disrupting markets. So what's the secret to just disrupting market? I just love hearing that. Like, some companies come out with products and they do well. Other companies disrupt markets. And I feel like it's taking product offerings and putting them on steroids almost. Like, we just want to, we have this amazing product. We're going to do it a different way. We're not going to do it the way everyone else does it. We have a brand. I mean, I have never seen anything like this before in a server rack. So what's the secret to disrupting a market? Or if you can give that out, I should say.
Well, you know what? It's one of these secrets. It's so obvious. Deep respect for the customer and what they're trying to do, what kind of problems they're trying to solve. And that deep respect and everything do from our engineering team, it's a step back. They're not direct custom. They're not touching the customer directly. They're a step back. But in our company, we have a value statement on the wall. You see it there. Why are we here together? Oh, we're serving a customer. How do you do it? It's a team effort. You look after everybody. and we all help each other. And then we talk about how we do that.
Okay.
And that's the basis. And then it's, you bring in people who love to do, the hardware side, the software side, the service side. You get people who like to do that. People want to go to work. Right. They want to do a good job. They want to have, be part of a group. They want to be valued by others. And we just build a workplace so that all happens. We put it together. And then when you do that deep respect for a customer, and you need some original thinking. And I mean, we have yourself and some of your peers here in the summit. We get you guys together and we say, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
And you absorb this all, and then we
opened a can of worms with that, didn't you?
Oh my God. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun, so many different views. And we take, what we see that fits, stir it around, try to create things, hand it back out. What do you think? And we have this ability in our development side of things to iterate very, very quickly, both on the software, open source implementations, and on the hardware side. And we come up with some really unique stuff coming out, and way more value for the money. And again, that on our enterprise side, which is where we earn primarily earn our living, we just add way more value to the customer, and we do what Legacy did, and you big price tag, attitude, ownership of your future. And we hand it back to what people want. Now, our customers want to own their future. They want security. They want to know that they're not always at threat of a renewal or change of terms. And they want their stuff to just work.
Right.
They want it to be easy to use. And they want somebody when they call that they don't get attitude out of, that they get confidence and respect and prompt caring to, just do what you did. They came and they spent their money on you. They chose you.
Yeah, it's going to make them feel sick to their stomach if they deal with a business that doesn't help them after the check is cashed.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a terrible feeling.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there. You make a purchase and the promise gets broken and you're going, yeah, but I thought you're supposed to. And they go, yeah, I don't care. And we just don't live that. Just respect your customer.
Absolutely. So the whole topic around this event, if I could say this properly, here goes. De-Microsoftification.
Got her. Beautiful.
Oh, gosh. So what does this mean to you, and why was this chosen as the topic for this event?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And number one, I don't have a D paid on for Microsoft. So de-Microsoftification, and we use them as just a general metaphor for proprietary, right? For people who own your future. Microsoft, I've been with them since the dawn of computing, like literally the dawn of microcomputing. And I've watched them go from DOS into Windows 3.1 and move on. And I deeply respect the fact that they are the people who created they're the sort of linchpin for the open ecosystem, right? Yeah, choose your hardware, choose your software. Microsoft's in the middle and makes it all play together, right? Thumbs up. And we deal with people who like to own their own computing. They like to have sovereignty over their data.
Right.
And they like to have their future and to know that those systems are going to work next year and the year after up until they choose to retire them. And you watch the changes in Microsoft. And again, it's a metaphor for the rest of the industry as the people up in those office towers with the MBAs start to think of more ways to extract money and support their cost structures, which blow it after a while, right?
Right.
And you see in Microsoft, and they've just done this series of things that, and again, it's small things because it generally works and works well. But these small things, irritations, forced updates.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yep. AJ, you and I had a great conversation about the fight for your attention.
Yes, and we were talking about Mac OS in this case, so I guess we could use the metaphor there too, because it's a proprietary operating system. And as a person with 95th percentile ADHD, I mean, this problem, as we discussed, is not just a problem for me. It's not just a problem for ADHD people. I might be more affected by it. But what I'm referring to is I feel like Mac OS, for example, is ADHD hostile. Like we have this feature called Auto Swoosh. And yes, I know the name, where you're working on something. Let's say you have a terminal, full screen, nothing else is there. You're writing some DevOps code. And then your browser in another workspace had a notification. So then it takes you out of what you're working in. And I've had this happen. I'm typing, mid-typing, my fingers to the keyboard. go over to the other workspace that I never asked to see, and I never asked to be disturbed. And then later on, they remove the command line trick that disables this. But even if you use these focus modes, it doesn't help. Yes, it helps the notifications and things, but it doesn't help. It's called focus stealing prevention is what we need, in my opinion, on all operating systems. If the user says, look, I don't want to be bothered, I want to do what's on my screen right now and nothing else. But the point with Mac OS is not only do we have that problem, we have bouncy icons, like even full screen, the panel will come up. And, I think people with ADHD might know what I'm talking about here. We don't want to be distracted because we have a hard enough time getting our focus on what it should be on in the first place, just for the operating system to take that away from us when we work so hard to get there. But then your point was, it's not just ADHD people, like, people generally don't want to be interrupted, right? So they want to keep doing what they're doing. And some of these, I call them paper cuts. They're bugs or issues that are not extreme. They're teeny tiny things, but they bother you the most. And they're sometimes the hardest to fix.
Yeah, the attention stealing thing in Microsoft, I run it. So I have acquired ADHD. I call it jokingly. I run a company with 400 people, and my day is like this, over to this, over to this. My attention has to jump from one thing to the other.
Gosh.
I sit down at my computer to write something. I got to get it written. Mm-hmm. And because I got to get to the next thing that I do. I chose the life. I love it. I'm not complaining about it. I love it. But then my computer, I'll be in the middle of a video conference with somebody, and up comes, it's time to reboot your computer. Remind me later, whatever else. I'm sorry, I'm busy. I paid for your software.
Right.
And can I use it the way I wanted? Auto hiding taskbar. Yeah. When something comes into the message queue, the taskbar won't auto hide anymore. It's a problem, and you search for solutions. There is no solutions. They get certain things. They decide they want to tap you in the shoulder. Mm-hmm. It pops up and it covers the bottom of my video conference screen, and I can't get to the buttons I want to get to.
Right.
And there's small irritations. But then the other one of Microsoft, and again, metaphor for everything proprietary, in Microsoft, when my data, two things. Phone home.
Yes.
I use the general thing of phone home. So you got to have a license, you got to go in, and you got to have an account and everything else. I don't want an account. And sorry, for our business application, we're in a company we are ITAR, Canadian Control Goods, security clear in this company. Mm-hmm. And we're going for CMMC level 3 cybersecurity. And I'm going, how do you reconcile that? Even if the rules will allow it, how do you allow a third party to reach in? You sort of by default say, anything we put in my docs is going to go up to our cloud.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing.
And I'm going, what headspace are you guys in? It's not the one we're in, running a 400-person operation. It's not the same place. And so I look for a solution to that, and then we look at open source. Mm-hmm. And it's got its issues, which our whole, the conference this week was about what's in the way of, getting rid of Microsoft. And it was really around the desktop, because the server room in enterprise, it's Linux.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
More powerful, more secure. You have, the control you need over it. Desktop is still wide open Microsoft.
Yes, it is.
Mac's got their share, but, Microsoft is the biggie. And what do you have, what's in the way? Because it solves my ownership, control, get rid of phone home, my license thing. Microsoft, Windows 8.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we talked about that. Windows 8, somebody, Bill Gates or somebody says, tablets, that's where it's at. Simpsons episode, I watched Moe's Bar, and Moe goes, and Moe says, family restaurants, that's where that Homer, Bonnie, get out of there. And it's like, all of a sudden that company decided, again, I like the product. I respect what they've done, but they suddenly decided that as a person who has 2 monitors and uses multiple windows all the time, that I am going to now sit there and reach out and touch the screen in front of me and have one window in focus.
Every time someone goes to touch my screen, like when I used to work, at a company, I had a Nintendo DS stylus next to my keyboard. If I saw a finger coming towards my screen, stylus. if you want to point at my screen, I hate fingerprints all over my screen. And now it's like, you on purpose?
Yeah. And it's not a workflow. It's not a workflow. And I go, and that scared me. I mean, they went back on it, but it scared me because they decided for their purposes, just as they do with so many other updates, they're going to change your menu structure. They're going to change this, change that. And my company, that distracts us and costs us money. The Windows 8 debacle scared us. And I said, what's the future? Because we rely on it. So we are actively developing in the company. We have our developers and our research and development people. They are on Linux desktop. And it's easy to do there. Our service team has just moved to it. And there's some challenges because there's some whole product issues. There's some, applications that are only Microsoft and things that they got to use to interact with clients. But we're plugging those gaps, and then we're going to move into an experimental basis. We're moving into putting Linux in the desktop in other areas, and it's really cool. It is just absolutely fascinating. We got to talk a whole lot about it. We talked. It was broader than that. We talked about a lot of contexts, but our and my interest, one of my big interests is to figure out how to do this, to do it internally. Like, where are the missing pieces? Group administration is missing in, Linux desktop. And
yes, it is. Those tools that are missing. Another thing that I don't think people think of, like obviously they're complaining about situations where, they log into Windows, they open the start menu, all of a sudden Bejeweled 2 is downloaded to their computer, but they didn't ask for that game. I mean, we can just, aside from the fact that people at work probably shouldn't be playing that game when they're trying to get something done. And I don't think it's going to differentiate work user, home user, but that's not even my problem. My problem is this. When that got downloaded to your computer, who paid for the bandwidth? And this is the part that nobody really seems to think about, because nowadays we have limited data plans. And if it's not limited, it's going to throttle. Who's paying us back? Like they slap our wrist for using an ad blocker, but you don't understand, it's not infinite anymore. And nobody's asking my permission for my CPU cycles to process and a network card to download something that I'm going to be billed for by my phone provider or my internet provider. And I just have to be okay with it because I can't stop it. That just does not seem okay to me.
And your hard drive space, and the little performance degradation is going to happen because you're using up more of your computer, and the little bit of time it steals from you. And we talked about attention, which both of us agree is a precious commodity.
It is.
Right? And they're stealing it. And I buy Hammer, the hardware store. I want a hammer. I want to hit nails with it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they're throwing it tap on the shoulder. And here, buy a screwdriver too. That's right. I don't want a screwdriver, I want a hammer. I gotta put nails in.
It's the tool suite. You get the 4 tools together, and if you get another tool, and then it's funny because my main opinion is what I want to see is someone go to Best Buy and they see a Windows laptop, they see a MacBook, and they see a Linux laptop side by side, and I want that decision to be hard. I want them to look at all 3 of these computers and have a very difficult time choosing which one is best because they're just that good. I don't want to see Linux take over everything, and neither do we, right? It's just, we want to not, at least I want to not see companies, do business in the way that they do business. They need to be about the customer. And it's just, I think the thing with Microsoft is that they used to be an innovator. Now they're an innovation chaser. And I consider them a Me Too company now because, how often it's like netbooks come out, Linux is on netbooks, we're excited about it. And then Microsoft says, oh yeah, we're on netbooks now. It's like, who asked you? We're fine. We're okay. You go on ahead. And that was a situation where Linux started to get traction because there's a new device. People are which is what I think is required for it to make it. In netbooks, Linux was there first. And obviously, tablets came around and messed that up for us, but we almost had it. We were that close.
So but like, then the good news is we go over it. The fundamentals for Linux in the desktop are there. Right. The fundamentals are all there. It's little gaps. It's called whole product and technology adoption. There are a bunch of little things that need to be done to make the user experience better. Better. Easier installs, easier access to underlying hardware and Flatpak as one example that got a lot of attention. But that's a solvable problem. It's such a solvable problem.
They are.
A little license issue, MP3 audio license issue. Anyway, a bunch of things that came up and the irritations. And I know them well. I use Linux at home, I have a home file server that we keep sort of central family files and photos and backup of phones on.
Right.
And I have my living room computer. I got a nice little fanless, something, or 45 Drives product line, nice little ultra quiet computer that sits under my big screen. It does Netflix, and it does YouTube, and it does some LibreOffice when I do a little bit of work, and that runs Ubuntu. And so
creative solution.
So I'm hands-on with it. There's some irritations. I'm lucky because as a guy who is not, my skills, I used to be a very hands-on, technical background person.
You mentioned OS2 in casual conversation earlier. So
100 years ago. Yeah.
It's like, and I know what he's talking about too.
And these days, my Linux skills are rustier than I'd like them to be. And I got to cheat because I got our whole service department say, guys, can you guys bail me out? And they'll come bail me out.
Knowledge.
But the experience it's good. I'm happy for what I do with it at home. I'm very, very happy with using Linux in the desktop. We're choosing groups inside the company. We have groups like our engineering group. We have 60, 70 licenses of SolidWorks inside the company, and it doesn't just, making that run on Linux is not going to happen. So that group's not going to go.
And I have experience with SolidWorks, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
So that's not going to go, but we have other groups where it isn't. We're going to do them one at a time. And I think we're going to really work on making our own, I wouldn't want to call it a distro, but a package that will relate tightly to Rocky Linux. We're a sponsor of the original sponsors of Rocky Linux, and it powers our server stuff by default unless people choose otherwise. And that whole thing that for organizations that have Rocky running their server room, to have desktops that are Rocky underneath kernel and implementation, et cetera. And then we're going to put together a set of tools and talking to you about, group administration ideas and the like. And we're going to put something together, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you guys have the passion for it, and you're looking in the right places. So,
and it's not to solve everything. It's not, hey, every company needs to use this for everything, but those that want that alternative. So if the carpet gets pulled out by the corporate, the guys in the upper office who haven't talked to a customer in the last 30 years, then our company's going to be able to move, and those customers of ours who use that, and we'll make that open, and anybody wants to use that. So that's one of the things that one of the places we want to go. We've had our ideas, and this our little summit. It's just been wonderful to talk with you guys and all the input. And this summit, I'll say. It's relatively closed group, but they come up with the idea in this, and it's like guys spent a lot of years at university and grad school and their master's, PhD, and I loved. And I'm still not totally useless despite all that. But one of the things I loved was we got to do things like visiting scientists' talks and department seminars from people internally. And you get this event where you take an hour or two out of your day. Coffee and donuts would attract the scientists like flies. Right. And they'd all show up and they listen to somebody. Ideas and people doing interesting things. They'd talk and set the context. And afterwards, discussion would happen, and it all come into the same context, and then ideas spread back out. And that ability to sit down, talk, immerse ourselves in, and just get some, like yourself, like bright minds and great communicators, and then just throw the ideas out. So really took our thinking forward. This week we're not quite over, but we got most of it over, and so much fun. Just so much fun.
I kind of noticed something. So we go to see the mansion for Alexander Graham Bell, and it was said that he would get scientists together and explorers and things together, in a room, and they would talk, and then you are getting people together, the people in the industry together to talk. It almost seems like the same thing, but in a different place. You get the people together. Let's have some conversations, and it worked then. So why couldn't it work now?
Different place, different time. But invention, simultaneous invention. Bell. We're talking, one of the family members are talking about the fact that Bell had like 500 lawsuits against him or something once he filed his patent.
I think they said 600.
600.
They said 600 lawsuits.
And the reason is because simultaneous invention happens all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it. It's because all the pieces had to invent electricity, electromagnets to make the little earpiece go, and understanding vibration and electrical resistance to make the microphone go. And once that was known, the pieces are there to assemble, right? And so, I've recognized, you dig down into it, we don't have a lot of original thoughts. They're very, very rare, these little insights. But all the innovation that happens is this putting together of ideas. And you want to make it happen faster, better. Bring multiple people, listen, bring people who are having fun. The world open source. That's why Linux in the server room is more powerful than proprietaries, because it's got collective mind and it just accepts input from so many people. And it's just, and some people like to go squirrel off on their own and do their own thing. Good. I love, I'm a social human being, and I love the company of people who like doing stuff. So.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things I feel is the case, I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm just saying it's a nice thought experiment. Imagine if a bunch of companies all over the world donated a couple hours of like one developer's time towards something that Linux needs, because Linux has all the pieces, but a lot of them are just not developed enough. Like you have Wayland, it still has somewhere to go. Systemd, Flatpaks, immutable distributions. I mean, we're developing all these things right now. None of these components are finished, but I feel like if not every company, but a lot of companies just donated developer time towards one of those things that Linux needs, I feel like Linux could be 100% desktop ready in a year. Now, the problem is getting all the companies to do this, right? And I don't think this is going to happen, and that's why it's just a thought experiment. But I feel like Linux has everything that it needs. It's just that nothing, you might have a component that's 75% ready, maybe something that's 90% ready, and they're all being developed different, separately. I feel like when we have all these things, it's going to be like a light bulb moment, and it's going to make sense. It's going to be great. But we just got to get there, and it just takes so long to develop each of these technologies. You have Xorg that, it's long in the tooth. The code base is pretty bad, so we have to get something else. But, Xorg wasn't developed in a day either. So,
you know what? It's the gaps got to get filled, and Jay, your vision is of a fully ready to take on the world general computing, desktop computing tool, which I love, and I totally agree with you. So my thing in sort of my entrepreneurial career and just the way I always approach things, the search for low-hanging fruit.
Right.
So that, and a big yes on that, and that's coordination and leadership within a community to get people to do that. And that's going to happen. It's just going to be slower.
It's going to be slower, but it will happen, and I have full faith in that.
And then, but the other side of it, as you talked about, I have a pretty clear vision of the doable of a subset of that. Again, technology adoption. If you can find niches, in the history of computing, you just go through, technology adoption. It's been there forever. Go find a niche, own a niche, and then work out from it. And
Which is my YouTube channel, basically. Get a niche. Be there and do the thing. Yeah,
exactly. So, and one of the ones that we're going to pursue, and we have the resource to do this, is to put together a good package to do basic, I'm going to call it corporate desktop, and I don't know if that's the right word, but it's companies, it doesn't have to be corporate, not-for-profit, government, for doing general computing. Right. And it depends on what you're running, what your workload and workflow is all about. We have our service group. It's like everything they do, just about, can be done on Linux and done well on it. Right. And you need word processing, and you need basic spreadsheet. You don't need full Excel. Excel's a brilliant program. We all agree on. We don't need full Excel in it. And our CRM, we run our own CRM. We got a system inside that's built inside, and it's a module in our ERP. Which is all home built, and it runs natively on Linux. And organizations that have a lot of their workflows on web, and great, you got a web browser and you're going to run all your tools, right? And when you got those, so what do you do? How do you get a nice package that can be deployed and maintained easily on a group basis in an organization that's stripped down, clear, crisp, has LibreOffice and a browser, and then the ability to run other native stuff. And if your workload matches that, you got something stable.
Yes.
That security of an open source license, and the fact that your carpet's not going to get pulled out from underneath you.
Right. Or you're not going to lose system tray icons.
Not distracted. The taps in the shoulders and all the things that we talk about. Stealing your data and whatever. Stealing your data. They're allowed to because you agreed.
I mean, it's only a matter of time before we have a situation where a service started to back up someone's files without them knowing to get them onboarded. Then said service has a major cyber attack that exposes every single thing. I mean, it's a security risk if your data is leaving your computer and you have to know where it's going and trust where it's going and know that they're not in the news every week for doing something stupid with security, right? You want to know that they're doing the right thing by your data, but if you don't know your data's going there, you don't even know to check.
And the major breaches and the ones that go public are a tiny tip of an iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
It's all the stuff that's happening all the time. And they say, oh, we're just using it to train AI and just using it to search, give you context-sensitive ads, which I agree with. I'm happy not to get women's fashion ads or something like that.
Yeah.
And happy to get sailboat ads. I like sailing, and I'm happy to get that. But you really think they're just using it for that? And all the time?
I mean, if they were, it would be fine. I mean, it's funny because even the fact that I get paid based on ad revenue, I'm telling people to use ad blockers. Like, people generally in my business don't do that because they don't want people, to give them less ad revenue. My line of thinking is you can't browse today without an ad blocker, because if you try to do so, you will hate it. You will not have a good time.
Too much of a good thing. Ads, I love ads because I've learned about a lot of new things because an ad caught the corner of my eye.
Right.
And in my hobbies, personal life, and definitely in work and technology and all the kind of different parts of technology that I've been involved with over the years. I love catching an ad for something to go, oh my God, I've been dreaming of somebody coming up with something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, not against advertising, but it's like, and context sensitive has made it much more bearable and actually makes it interesting when you go into, when whatever you're on knows your profile of who you are and they show you the right stuff. It's actually great, but then they overdo it and pop up all over the place, and and you can't do it.
And they add QR codes to it or whatever else they're doing, because that's usually the direction it goes. It's like it goes this direction, then QR code all the things. It's almost like take it from a bad playbook. So, I think we brought up a lot of good points, and you brought up a lot of good points because I feel like this perspective from a company that's hearing from customers all the time. I mean, I'm hearing from customers too, but it's not quite the same thing. And then just try to deal with and identify the flaws and hope that someone will fix it. I mean, absolutely, I would love to fix it myself if I had the time, but there's smart people out there that have the skills and the coding skills. The only thing I will say is, just don't allow yourself to get discouraged if you're trying to fix these problems, because the Linux community sometimes could be rough around the edges. And then, you're developing and putting a patch into systemd just for someone to say they hate systemd, or you make Flatpaks better and someone says you're supposed to use snap packages or Flatpak, whatever. Just know going into it, we appreciate you, and the people that are complaining are the minority. I want to be clear. We appreciate you. Do not let the few people that are, trying to flame you, discourage you. We need you guys. Please hang in there and get us where we need to go. We need the developers on this, and we need them happy. We need them engaged. And if we don't get that, it's going to be so hard to succeed.
Yeah, and that's it. And, it's coordination, clear vision, move there. Critics, we had a great conversation about critics, if you're at all in the public eye.
Yeah.
You're talking about comments and YouTube channels and everything else. And the impact of negative comments on us, we humans are wired to have a really disproportionately high impact from a negative comment. And it's like, man, learning to operate in the new world of the internet when the whole world's at your door. Yeah. You just got to realize there is a broad variety of both opinions and also people skills.
Yes.
Right. And the people skills we talked about today, and throw in, people driving your automobile, you're in a steel and glass box. And a lot of people say a lot of tough words to the driver who they feel just disrespected.
And you'll never see that person most likely ever again and that stems from, tribal man, because if you're in this village and you have this other village a mile away, you will see them again and you will make it known, I'm defending my village. I will not, but you're on the road, stretch across thousands of miles. Let it go. But we're still wired for that. It's so kind of crazy.
We're wired for that. And then the internet is that we don't have that personal contact. You're eyeball to eyeball. You have a small difference.
Say whatever you want to say that you never say in person.
And that respect, which we deeply go inside our company, where getting along is a huge matter. Determines job satisfaction and productivity.
Absolutely.
Employer and employee. And so we train everybody inside here. It's our value system that it's your responsibility to maintain good interpersonal relationships.
Yes.
And then you look at that, you go, you know what? Your life is so much better. Your life is determined by your EQ more than your IQ and that ability to form cooperative relationships. But then you get on the internet and you get people who don't get that and sometimes can't. And then they flame and it's like, yeah, it's all. And then when you go, that's all good. It's an efficiency in them, not me. So you do work and you get, flame or opinions go, you get flame. It's the internet age. It's to understand that.
Yep, I completely agree. So is there anything else you want my audience to know, or free floor, anything?
Well, I love what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely deep respect for that educational part of the mission. Mm-hmm. Training and education is key part of adoption. It's not to be minimized. It's not a nice to or an afterthought or anything like that. It is an absolutely key part of it. So thank you so much for doing it, Jay. I'm really grateful for it.
Appreciate that. Oh. Awesome. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Doug. I know I did. He has a lot of great things to say, a lot of passion. So I find myself having a lot of fun speaking with him. He's a great guy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this video. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video.